In a small, quiet village surrounded by ancient woods, there lived an old storyteller named Elias. Known for his tales of wonder and mystery, he often spoke of life and its fleeting nature. But among his collection, there was one story he never shared, one that haunted him. One cold, moonless night, Elias sat by his fireplace, pen in hand, staring at a blank page. Shadows in the room danced with the flickering flames as a soft knock came at the door. Unusual for the hour, Elias hesitated before opening it. Standing on his doorstep was a pale, cloaked figure. Its face was veiled, yet Elias felt an overwhelming presence, calm, yet heavy with an ancient weight. "May I come in?" the figure asked, its voice neither male nor female, but carrying the cadence of countless lives. Elias stepped aside, his heart heavy with an unspoken recognition. "You are Death," he whispered. The figure nodded. "I am, but tonight I am not here for you. I have come for a story." Elias's hand trembled as he gestured to the chair by the fire. "A story? From me?" Death sat gracefully, folding its hands. "You have spent your life telling tales of others. Now tell me yours. Speak of what you fear most." Elias swallowed hard, the room growing colder. He began hesitantly, recounting his childhood, his loves, his losses, and his regrets. As he spoke, he realized his deepest fear was not death itself, but being forgotten, his stories fading into the void like autumn leaves carried by the wind. Death listened intently, its silence urging him to continue. When Elias finished, he looked at the figure, tears glistening in his eyes. "What happens to our stories when we are gone?" Death leaned forward, its voice soft. "Stories never die, Elias. They live in the hearts of those who hear them, shaping lives, guiding souls. Even when the storyteller is gone, the echoes remain." For the first time in years, Elias smiled. He felt a strange peace settle over him, as if a great burden had been lifted. As dawn approached, Death stood, its cloak shimmering in the faint light. "You have given me a story tonight, Elias, and in return, I grant you time. Share your tales, for they will outlast even me." With that, the figure vanished, leaving only the lingering scent of winter air. Elias sat by the fire, the blank page before him no longer intimidating. He began to write, his hand steady, his heart full. Death's visit had not been an end, but a beginning, a reminder that while life is finite, stories are eternal. Elias wrote with a newfound purpose, pouring his heart into each word. His stories no longer avoided the truths he feared most. He wrote about life's fragility, love's enduring strength, and the mysteries that tied the living to the unknown. Days turned into weeks, and soon the villagers began to notice a change in Elias. His voice, once heavy with age, now carried a vitality that inspired all who gathered to hear him. People traveled from distant towns, drawn to the tales of the old man who spoke not only of life, but of death with a grace that eased their fears. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Elias finished his final tale, a story of a traveler who walked hand in hand with death, not as an enemy, but as a friend. The villagers sat in silence, moved by the beauty of his words. When the crowd dispersed, Elias remained in his chair, gazing at the stars. The night was still, and a familiar chill swept through the air. He felt it before he saw it, a presence calm and steady. "You've returned," Elias said softly without turning his head. Death stood beside him, its veiled face illuminated by the moonlight. "I have. You've done well, Elias." "Is it time?" Elias asked, his voice free of fear. Death nodded. "Yes, but not as you think. You have already given your stories to the world. You are ready to rest, but what you have created will live on." Elias smiled, his heart full of gratitude. "Will you tell me one last thing before we go?" "Of course," Death said. "Where do we go after this?" Death paused, as if weighing the question. "To where all stories begin, Elias. To the place where silence gives way to creation, where endings and beginnings are one and the same." Elias closed his eyes, his breathing steady and peaceful. The fire in his hearth flickered and dimmed as the old storyteller drifted into a sleep deeper than any before. Death lingered for a moment, placing a gentle hand on the manuscript beside him, then disappeared into the night. When morning came, the villagers found Elias in his chair, a serene expression on his face. Beside him was his final story, titled The Whisper of Eternity. It would become his legacy, a testament to the life he lived and the truths he discovered. And though Elias was gone, his words carried on, whispered by the wind, told by the firelight, and etched into the hearts of all who heard them, proof that while death may claim the body, it could never silence the soul.